I am a young person, but have all dreams and aspirations, as old as our church aspirations and struggle for a free and independent Pilipinas. In a few months working as a psychosocial facilitator in times of disasters and armed conflict, I have seen and felt the rigors of social injustice. However, I also felt the children's undying hope for a better place to live in. Same with our ancestors' hopes and struggles for the past century. Last November, our country was stunned by the strongest and deadliest typhoon that ever hit Philippines, Typhoon Haiyan. About 10,000 people died, which the government has been trying to cover up. Even the CNN reporter Anderson Cooper was doubtful of the government's 6,000 casualties. 4.1 people were displaced and over 16 million people were affected across 46 provinces. It felt like a brutal massacre of my people by those exploitative multinational companies who, as we speak, are continuing to destroy our environment and taking our ancestral land. Indeed, it made me angry. Yet, after 2 weeks Typhoon Haiyan ravaged Visayas, I have participated in the caravan relief outreach for Typhoon Haiyan survivors. The team was about 500 contingents all over Mindanao. Even at the orientation, I could feel that the spirit of bayanihan culture of Filipinos, which is helping out one another, even if nothing could be offered except strength and willpower, have made a comeback. On the way, I was studying our psychosocial module to harness my skill in facilitating. While reading on the fifth question of our processing guide, what did you felt during the Typhoon Haiyan? I thought, to what extent did I feel fear? I suddenly remembered the night our house was burned along with several neighboring houses. I could not forget the fearful sound brought by sirens of several fire trucks and the wailing sound and cries of the people while watching our homes burned to the ground. I have always thanked God that no one was wounded on our family, but it left a fear in my heart that whenever I hear fire truck sirens on the street, it always reminds me of that night. For over 1 day of travel, my mind is bugging with a question on, if on that tragedy I felt the anguishing fear, what more did the Haiyan survivors felt? What did the children felt, especially, and how am I going to help them? When we arrived, we saw a part of scattered debris all over, an awful smell, severely destroyed infrastructures and farms. And what made my heart ache was when I saw people, especially children, in the streets, reaching their basin, shouting, begging for food. I could not explain how troubled I am. The pain of seeing our children in such a manner was hard to endure. In our psychosocial first aid activity, children have begun expressing their fears, sadness, pain, and distress. Some thoroughly said that they were so afraid that even when they went to the church for a much secure shelter, the church was struck by flying debris and fallen trees, that all they could do was to cry helplessly. I could still remember that whenever they are telling their story, they make all I could do was to listen. Others cried for losing someone important. Others articulated that after the tragedy, whenever they hear small drops of rain in their rooftops, they immediately call for their parents. I have already felt the weight of what they have experienced. But after I told them the causes of this unnatural typhoon, they began to understand that all of the things on this earth are connected, interrelated in many ways. They began to understand their fears and able to transform it into dreams. Even I, on that moment, finally understands my role in church and in our society. I am still young and I have a lot to do. And for sure, it was to be like Christ, to critically understand our society and change it. That to be like Christ is to serve the people, just like our church, Philippine Independent Church. Therefore, I think it is obvious why I, as a young person, is an important part of the worldwide church.